Greetings, friends in Glen Burnie from Kenora, Ontario. My name is Meg Illman-White, and I have been friends with Elizabeth for about 22 years, I think. Elizabeth was one of the first people I met after our family moved from Swan River to Arnprior. I was dropping my daughter off to Theatre Lab's summer camp, which Elizabeth co-owned and ran. I watched Elizabeth work with the kids for a little bit as my daughter settled in. I quickly noticed that in each child, she seemed to find what was amazing about their work and draw their attention to it. She was totally immersed in the children. The kids came for an experience in drama. They left knowing something I think far more important. Through her eyes, they had the opportunity to see some of the spark that made each of them unique and special. I was in awe. Later that year, we worked together on a small Christmas play I'd written for the kids at Grace St. Andrews. Elizabeth got people involved in creating an amazing set and production from a simple script. A year or two later, during Lent, Elizabeth created an intergenerational masterpiece on the people of God in the wilderness. She called it The Rock. It brilliantly drew all generations, from the very old to the very young, into the sacred story and into a deeper journey with each other. Maybe you also notice that Elizabeth is constantly finding ways of building community. From early on, Elizabeth and I became friends, and over beer late at night we talked theology. Elizabeth never settled for an easy answer or scholarly interpretation. She wrestled and struggled over biblical texts. Scripture danced with social issues. No stone was left unturned. Conversations with her were never just easy because I had to really think and wrestle along with her. I grew in the process. One of the most exciting things about working with Elizabeth was that she brought her experience with godly play to help both adults and youth to enter the text, wonder about it, and then engage in the creative arts to interpret it. The kids at GSA embraced the creativity and her respect for them as natural theologians. Soon the kids were creating worship for the congregation that was relevant, engaging, fun, artistic, colorful, beautiful, active, contextual, and challenging. Elizabeth experimented with themed youth programming. One year the theme was Make Poverty History. That year in October, the kids created cardboard and tarp tents to sleep in and spent the evening and night reflecting on homelessness. Later that year, Elizabeth and Jerry both stepped forward immediately when the kids did a head-shaving fundraiser for youth combating HIV/AIDS stigma in Tanzania. The church was truly alive in worship and in action. The kids led the way. There was no doubt in my mind from early on that Elizabeth was called to ministry of worship, preaching, and pastoral care. Her compassion runs as deep as her ability to see beauty in unexpected places. That is not to say that she can't dig in her heels from time to time. We worked together, we battled with each other, and we created together. Over the years, Elizabeth has taught me the power of great attention to beauty, process, and detail in developing meaningful faith experiences, whether in study groups, women's retreats, or youth work. And so, when Elizabeth finally went to the Grace St. Andrews congregation to say that she'd like to discern a call to ministry, the church board was ecstatic and supported her warmly. This picture is of the two of us debriefing after her final conference interview several years later. And then she came to you at Glen Burnie 10 years ago. And today you're celebrating her ministry among you and the relationships that have grown and the things you have experienced and built together. I know that Elizabeth continues to dig deep into every text for every sermon she writes, and to beautifully weave every service into a work of art. And I always learn and discover from her preaching and am moved by her liturgy. But mostly, what I noticed in my first encounter with her at Theatre Lab is perhaps her greatest gift. Elizabeth really sees the glorious in life, the sacred all around her. In many seasons of a tree, in the hikes and paddles she and Jerry take together, in the sacred texts, in the homeless or stranded person, in the birds and their amazing adaptations, and in each and every one of you. I've been blessed to count myself as her friend all of these years.